Environmental degradation, human activity, combined with climate change, are increasing our risk of exposure to emerging infectious diseases. That's according to scientists at the University of Western Australia. The study draws parallels between humans encroaching further into areas of high biodiversity and the occurrence of diseases such as Ebola, SARS, and COVID-19. Now, for more on this, we have head of this research, Kirsten Martinus, joining us now for more. Kirsten, what are the chances then of virus crossover from animals to us humans?
So, the closer the species are to humans, the more that the likelihood of the crossover occurs. But we have a lot of sort of major hosts that it's not just mammals. We have bats, mosquitoes, rodents, snails, obviously primates. And these are all associated with human-modified environments. And, bats are a really interesting one because they fly and they come into our environments and they carry things like coronavirus. They have more viruses than any other species. And so because they fly into our areas and the transmission is highly increased. So we have things like Ebola in Africa and the Hendra virus in places like the inner city suburbs of Brisbane.
Kirsten also says that climate change, too, is creating conditions for greater crossover of viruses between species. How so?
So climate change is associated with things with like extreme weather events, like, your tropical cyclones, floods, droughts, which then produces things like you've got cholera outbreaks, typhoid, malaria. And as well as longer-term things that may be over decades, a longer-term change of climate change. And this is changes of seasonal patterns and extreme temperatures, which changes the distribution of different host species as well as the viruses themselves. And this change of geographic distribution then brings humans closer to viruses.
So what can we do then to help? Are there any mitigation methods that can help us balance land use, environmental protection, and us catching unwanted diseases?
Well, I think it's about collective action and it's about making consumption choices that are more thoughtful of the environment and understanding the way that we as everyday people, we do impact. We make choices that are not separate from the environment. We are now a part of global supply chains and production chains that come from all over the world. So we're demanding products that are creating deforestation or adding demanding agricultural practices that degrade the environment, then we are leading to these sorts of changes that bring humans closer to viruses. And technology is a good way now that we can engage with that, things like blockchain technology where there's traceability of products. We can actually make ethical choices which are better for the environment but also which minimise the risk of humans coming in contact with diseases.
Right. Because in saying all that, and speaking of choices, so aside from habitat encroachment, what other activities are potentially worsening the situation?
So things like agricultural. So you've got sort of choices that we make in agriculture, even even urbanisation itself. So we're sort of making choices to widen our cities and to have more cities, but that is leading to damage to the natural environments and humans are then changing and going into these environments where they weren't before. And particularly in, a lot of it's in tropical areas where there is a high level of biodiversity. And when we have a large areas of biodiversity, you have more pathogens and humans going into those sorts of environments are particularly exposed to novel viruses.